Hello everybody, Abed's brother here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the performance of some old PCs versus ELEX. ELEX was developed by Piranha Bytes, published by THQ Nordic, and released on PC on October 17th, 2017. It uses Piranha Bytes' in-house Genome engine and the DirectX 11 API. You can see the minimum and recommended specifications on screen here. It is a demanding game, but it is compatible with a wide variety of hardware. So for the first test system, we'll be using the A10770K and the Firepro W5100. And for 2017, pretty demanding, as I said. So for this one, we'll be using 720p and low settings. We will be using high textures though, because the W5100 does have 4 gigs of VRAM. So the big story for ELEX is going to be the CPU. I chose a little benchmark run here where we basically run towards the domed city. The domed city is a place where a lot of people have in the past reported frame drops and such, so I was like, oh, that seems like the perfect spot to do some benchmarking. So out here in the countryside, 50 to 55 FPS. It's a little disappointing, but I guess that A10, you know, the Athlon lack of single core speed has got to show up somewhere. And it's only going to get worse as when we go into the settlement. But I seem to be saying this a lot when it's under 60 FPS. Yeah, I'm very much a 30 FPS guy. That's the era I grew up in, and I'm basically used to it. I haven't played a game in 30 FPS in a long time, but if a game is 30 FPS, I'm not going to complain about it. So this, to me, is playable. 40 to 50 FPS, it looks like. I think we're going to dip into the 30s here. We're going to run through the pumpkin patch. And then we're going to circle around, use our jetpack to jump up onto a roof and get a panorama of the settlement. Yeah, we're in the upper 30s now. And we are using about 3.3 gigs of VRAM with the high textures, even at 720p, so definitely a something to consider. It will play on 2 gigs of VRAM just fine, but at least it did on Windows. I'm not sure on Linux. But here, the pan, that's the big one, towards the Cleric's outpost there. Acceptable performance, not great, but, I mean, you could get by with it. But now we're going to go to the i5-4590 and the R9 280X. And this is a serious increase in horsepower across the board. So for this one, we will be going to 1080p. And what did I say? Oh, medium. Okay. There is no medium for ambient occlusion. That's why that's at low. And the render range and environment render range are both low. To make things easier on the CPU. But 1080p medium with low render range, we are over 60. I don't expect that'll hold though. But look at this old GPU go. The R9 280X is the same GPU as the HD 7970. So if you're shopping for a cheap GPU like this, they are the same card. The 280X might have some minor upgrades with like memory speed or something, maybe. They did the same thing. Radeon did the same thing when they upgraded from the 290 to the 390. It's the same chip, but there were some minor improvements that made the 390 like 3% faster or something. It's basically the same card. The drawback to the 280X is it has only 3 gigs of VRAM. So if you wanted to turn some settings up even more, which I don't know why you would, you can see we're already dipping under 60 here. You do have to keep textures around medium, or you're going to exceed the VRAM buffer. But at medium textures, 2.6 gigs of VRAM, just about right. But now we're heading into the fort, and you can see it dips. Now, unfortunately, Mango HUD does not read GPU utilization properly for GCN1 GPUs. That's why it shows a 0%. I suspect it is being fully utilized mostly just from the temperature, 71 degrees. This is a pretty basic version of the 280X. It should be between 70 to 75 degrees. So 71, it's being mostly fully utilized. Almost there, not quite though. And that's going to be a theme of this video. 50 FPS, looking at the clerics, and straight ahead we're in the 56, 55. Very decent performance from an old system. But let's step up to the FX-8320e and the R9 290. So now we're going to the newer architecture. The 290 is GCN2, 280X was GCN1, and we have more shaders to boot. So we are going to 1080p, and we are looking at, are we at the same? Oh, I switched the shader quality to low for this one. That's right. And again, render range is at low. The problem here is, again, the FX-8320e is probably going to be bottlenecking the 290. And I'm sure a question would be, well then why do I have the FX-8320e in my test setup? It seems to be doing pretty well out here. I mean, we're in the low to mid 70s. Once we get into the town, though, with more objects on screen, I'm expecting major frame rate dips. The reason it's in the test suite is that this video is called Old PCs versus ELEX. And FX chips are definitely old, and they can be had fairly cheap. So if you're just looking to throw together a gaming build, cheap gaming build with some old parts, you can probably get an 8-core FX chip cheaper than you can get a Haswell i7. I mean, that's still pretty cheap. Last I checked, Haswell i7s are 40 bucks. But they're out there. There are parts out there, and I felt like it was important to have an FX chip in the lineup. Okay, let's see what the frame rate does here. Okay, not too bad. Not as bad as I feared, anyway. Still upper 50s so far. Alright, we're seeing some dips to the low 50s. The render range is going to prove really crucial. If you have an FX chip like this and are looking to play this game, shortening the range at which objects render is really going to help with your frame rate by reducing the stress on the CPU. Because you can see we are bottlenecking the 290 like I thought. You see it says 100% utilization, but it is running way too cool. Okay, so about 50 FPS, upper 40s, low 50s seems to be about what to expect. A little disappointing, but not bad for an old FX chip. But now let's go to the i7-4790 and RX 480. This one I'm expecting should definitely deliver on all the Radeon hype for Linux. So 1080p again. And we are at high settings with medium render range. So instead of medium settings, low render range, now we are at high settings with medium render range. And right away we are in the upper 70s to start out. This is the 8GB version of the RX 480. But looks like you could play this game with the 4GB version without a problem, at least at this resolution. Yes, this, I was looking up the engine that was used here. This was the engine Piranha Bytes developed for Gothic 3. So this is their in-house engine. It's... For years, I thought it was Unreal. Probably, I thought it was like early Unreal 4 or something. We're still holding in the mid-70s. We'll have to see what happens when we get to the pumpkin patch. Originally, I was going to do a run through Goliath, which is the Berserker camp at the start of the game that you go to very early in the game. But the Dome City seemed to be the one that everybody was saying had frame drops. Let's see what happens here. Went from 70s to... well, there's 58. Hanging right around 60 FPS, though. But you can see it is staying pretty... we're staying pretty locked at 100% in the ARX 480. We're dipping a little bit. When you see it jumping around between, like that, between 60 to 80 and then 100% again, that's a sign something, it is being bottlenecked by the CPU. Even Haswell, that's the i7. Well, that's pretty good. I wonder... almost at 60 FPS again. I wonder how it would do at 1440p, though. So let's try that. Let's go to 1440p. And let's go to low settings. We'll keep the textures at high because this is an 8 gig card. But everything's at low. And let's see how we do. Because at the time that the RX 480 came out, it was seen as a 1080p card and basic 1440p card. With old games, and by old at the time, I mean like, you know, Dragon Age Origins or something. You could do 4K with an RX 480, but not with the intense 3D environments of a modern game, which at the time, like ELEX. But 1440p so far pretty good. I think the story with ELEX is going to be CPU speed, really. And you saw in the Domed City, the i7-4790 is getting up to about 60% utilization. So CPU is doing a lot of work here. Faster CPUs will probably get better results from the GPUs. It's not going to be a massive increase, but it should help with the frame dips. 1440p on an RX 480, even at low settings. Let's see what happens here. Everything comes on screen. I'm expecting dips into the 40s here, probably upper 40s. Not yet. Not yet, we're holding steady.
Nothing
low
is free in
50s. There's 49. So it looks like out in the country you'll be over 60. It's just in the towns.
I don't have the shard, so that's
And the Dome City in particular is more demanding than some of the other towns, except maybe Goliath, because it's a big town and there's a lot of foliage around. Mid 50s, low to mid 50s. Pretty impressive, RX 480, 1440p. But now let's go to the i7-5930K and the Radeon RX Vega 64, which is a dedicated 1440p GPU. So for this one, 1440p, and I think I did at high settings. Yes, high settings all around. I tried Ultra, but there were quite a few frame dips, made it not really acceptable. So 1440p high. And it seems to be if we're getting mid to upper 70s in the country, we should be fine in the town. That seems to be the pattern that's emerging here. And if you're wondering why the animals aren't attacking me, I believe, it's been a while since I've played, but I believe I'm wearing the high-level Berserker armor you get for joining that faction. And low-level mobs do not attack you. So that's how I'm able to run by all these creatures. Normally you can't. They would all attack you. Still staying over 70. Oh, now we're dipping to 60. Mid-60s. Vega's still showing up well here. It's not even running super hot. Some games just, like Control. I remember Control pushed Vega super hot on the hotspot. Okay, what do we do here? Vega. Vega has just aged so well. Mid-60s even in the town here. That could be the extra cores on the 5930K. But Vega really does not care. That's the difference between trying to make do with an RX 480 and buying a GPU that's designed for 1440p, which the Vega 64 was. $1440p high, low to mid 60s. Impressive showing from Vega. But now let's see what the Ryzen 5 5500 and Intel Arc A770 can do. And for this test, we will also be using 1440p and should be the same settings as Vega. Yeah. All high settings. Render range, shader quality, everything. Everything is high. Let's see how we do. Okay, well, we're already higher than Vega. Not much higher. Vega was dipping into the mid-70s here, whereas the A770 is sitting low 80s. 81, 80, 83, 84. Looks like Arc is ahead here. But now the Arc A770 does have issues with CPU bottlenecking in the driver. So the question will be, how much does that affect it once we get to the domed city? Frame time graph looks very good though. I tell you, there's some games Arc just does not work with, like Starfield. But when Arc works, it works pretty good now. I just wish Mango HUD could read VRAM usage on Intel Arc. Hopefully that's coming in patch soon. And the reason I keep stopping and starting with his running, you can't really see it because the overlay's over it, but there is a stamina bar that's kind of hidden. Okay, into the fort, and we go from low 80s to low 70s. And we are CPU bottlenecked a little bit. GPU usage is in the upper 80s. So the A770 is being bottlenecked by the CPU, but is still better than Vega. That means if you have a better CPU, you'll probably get even better performance out of it. Yeah, definitely. Come on. The clerics are up here. Yeah, definitely ahead of Vega here at 1440p high. So how will it do at 4K? Let's find out. So now we're running 4K on the A770. And low settings, high textures, because this A770 is a 16GB card. So we go from 1440p high to 4K low. And we can't hold 60 in the countryside. 4K is a lot of pixels. I don't expect any CPU bottlenecking to be happening here, no matter where we go. Just can't hit 60 out here, though. I think I know how this is going to go. I'm predicting probably mid-40s in the town. Upper 50s out of town, probably mid-40s in the town. Let's see what happens. This is the ASRock Phantom A770, and it is just a fantastic cooler. I've run benchmarks on this GPU for hours, and it never goes over 71 degrees. But the A770 Phantom GPU has just been a great bit of hardware for me. Let's see what happens. Now, holding steady in the mid-50s? Interesting. That's better than I expected here. I think this could actually be viable at 4K. Now, there is a built-in resolution slider. Maybe if we put the slider at 90%, it could give us 90% resolution. It could give us just a little bit more performance. Come on. But then you start to hurt the visuals. Almost there. Almost 4K 60 at low settings, but not quite. Still, pretty good result from the Intel Arc A770. And that's ELEX versus the old PCs. CPU performance becomes very important in this game, though, so the FX chips are definitely at a disadvantage. If you're looking with Haswell, you know, the RX 480 or the R9 280X, they're both going to do really well. Vega 64 really good at 1440p. Arc very good at 1440p. Arc can almost do 4K low, but can't quite hit 60 FPS. So that would have been a nice bonus, but oh well. That's all I got for you today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.